Have you ever wondered what it feels like to lose the one person who meant everything to you, all because of a single moment you couldn't explain? 10 years ago, Ethan Carver stood in the pouring rain outside a glitzy Miami hotel, his heart pounding as he clutched a small velvet box in his hand, an engagement ring he'd never get to give. The woman he loved, Maya Torres, walked out of his life that night without a word, disappearing into the storm like she'd never existed. Ethan, then just 28, a rising star in the cutthroat world of real estate, thought he'd lost her to some unforgivable mistake he didn't even understand. But here's the kicker. Maya didn't just leave him. She took something with her, something Ethan never knew about. A secret so big it would turn his world upside down a decade later. Fast forward to today. Ethan's 38 now, a billionaire real estate tycoon ruling New York's skyline. He's got the penthouses, the private jets, the kind of power that makes people jump when he snaps his fingers. But behind the sharp suits and the cold, calculating stare, there's a hollow spot he's never filled. 10 years of asking why. Why did Maya leave? What did he do? He searched for her, hired private investigators, chased every lead, but she vanished like smoke. And just when he thought he'd buried that pain for good, fate had other plans. Picture this, a quiet art school in Seattle, kids laughing, paint smudges on their hands. Ethan's there cutting a check for some charity project, typical tycoon stuff. Then he sees him, a boy, maybe 9 years old, with dark curls and piercing blue eyes that look exactly like his own. His name's Liam Torres, and his mom, Maya Torres, the same Maya who walked out on him all those years ago. Ethan's breath catches. Could it be? Is this kid his son? And if he is, why the hell did Maya keep him a secret for an entire decade? So here's the question that's going to keep you hooked. What happens when a man like Ethan, ruthless, relentless, used to getting what he wants, finds out the love of his life didn't just break his heart, but hid his own flesh and blood from him? 10 years later, the truth is coming, and it's about to shake everything Ethan thought he knew. Stick around, because this story's just getting started. Let's rewind the clock 10 years, back to a night that changed everything. Miami, 2015. The air's thick with humidity, the kind that sticks to your skin, and the sky's rumbling like it's got a grudge. Inside the Carver Luxe Hotel, though, it's a different world. Golden chandeliers dripping with light, champagne flutes clinking, and the hum of rich folks laughing over deals and gossip. Ethan Carver, 28, stands tall in a tailored black suit, his dark hair slicked back, a faint smirk on his lips. He's not the billionaire he is today, not yet, but you can see it in his eyes, ambition burning bright. He's got the world in his hands, or so he thinks. And tonight he's about to make it official. Tucked in his pocket is a ring, simple but perfect, for Maya Torres, the woman who's been his rock for 3 years. Maya's 25, a painter with a wild streak, all messy curls and a smile that could light up a room. She's not like the polished crowd here. Her dress is a little bohemian, her laugh a little too loud, but that's why Ethan loves her. She's real in a world full of fakes. Tonight, she's nervous though. Her hand keeps drifting to her stomach, where a tiny life's been growing for 2 months. She hasn't told Ethan yet, but she's bursting with it, picturing his face when she says, "We're gonna be a family." She's sure he'll scoop her up, spin her around, that big rare grin of his breaking free. It's gonna be their night. But then the room shifts. Maya's standing by the bar sipping water to calm her nerves when she spots him across the ballroom. Ethan's in the middle of the crowd laughing, that deep, warm laugh she knows so well. Except it's not for her. There's a woman next to him, Chloe Bennett, all red hair and sharp cheekbones, her dress hugging her like it's painted on. She leans in close, her hand brushing Ethan's shoulder, whispering something in his ear. He laughs again and Chloe's fingers linger, sliding down to his chest like they belong there. Maya freezes. The glass in her hand trembles. Her chest feels like it's caving in, a storm twisting up inside her. She blinks hard, willing it to be a mistake. Maybe it's the lights, the crowd, her imagination. But then Chloe tilts her head, smirking, and Ethan doesn't pull away. He doesn't even look her way. Maya's world cracks. 3 years of love, promises whispered in the dark, plans for a future. It all feels like a lie now. She doesn't know it, but she's watching a setup. Chloe's no random guest. She's a plant, hired by a rival developer to smear Ethan's name, to make him look like a player who can't be trusted. Photos are snapping, rumors are brewing, and it's all going according to plan. Except no one counted on Maya being there to see it. Her breath hitches. She presses a hand to her stomach, where their baby's growing, and suddenly she can't breathe. She'd come here to tell him he was going to be a dad, to start their life together. Now she feels like a fool. The ring she'd dreamed of, the one she didn't even know was in his pocket, feels like a cruel joke she'll never get. Tears sting her eyes, but she won't let them fall. Not here. Not in front of these people. She turns, shoving through the crowd, her heels clicking on the marble floor. The air outside hits her like a slap of wet, heavy, the rain pouring down in sheets. She doesn't care. She just keeps walking, her dress clinging to her legs, her heart breaking with every step. Inside, Ethan's still laughing with Chloe, oblivious. He doesn't know Maya's there. Doesn't know she's watching. He thinks she's running late, stuck in traffic or something. He's got the ring ready, planning to find her any minute now. But when he finally turns to look for her, she's gone. He steps outside, calling her name into the storm. Maya, Maya, but the rain swallows it up. She's already in a cab, staring out the window as Miami blurs past, one hand on her stomach, the other wiping tears she can't stop. She's leaving him, leaving everything, and she's not coming back. The driver glances at her in the rearview mirror, his voice soft. "Where to, miss?" She barely hears him, her mind replaying that laugh, that touch. "Airport," she whispers. The cab pulls away, and just like that, Ethan's world shifts without him even knowing it. He stands there, in the rain, soaked, confused, the ring heavy in his pocket. He doesn't get it yet. He's lost her, and not just her, but the son he doesn't even know exists. Back in that cab, Maya's shaking, her hands clenched tight. She's not just running from Ethan, she's running from the life she thought they'd have. She doesn't know the truth, doesn't know she's falling for a lie. All she knows is the pain, sharp and raw, tearing her apart. 10 years from now, she'll look back and wonder if she made the right call. But right now, in this moment, she's gone. And Ethan's left with nothing but questions he can't answer. What happens next? Oh, you're not ready for it. 10 years can change a lot, can't it? It's 2025 now, and Ethan Carver's not the same guy who stood in the rain calling Maya's name. He's 38, a real estate kingpin who owns half of New York's skyline, skyscrapers with his name on them, a penthouse that looks like something out of a movie, and a reputation for being as ruthless as he is brilliant. He's got everything money can buy, but there's a quiet ache he's never shaken. It's in the way he stares out his office window sometimes, lost in thought, or how he avoids Miami like it's cursed. Maya Torres left a hole in him, and no amount of deals or dollars has filled it. He's tried to move on, dated here and there, but nothing stuck. How do you replace someone who felt like home? For years, he hunted for her. Private investigators, late-night Google searches, even a trip back to Miami to retrace her steps. Nothing. She'd vanished, and he'd forced himself to let it go. Or at least, he thought he had. Until today. Ethan's in Seattle, of all places, on a rare day off from the grind. He's there to cut a check for some art school charity project. Good PR, sure, but also a chance to get out of the city. The place is buzzing with kids, their laughter bouncing off the walls, paint smudges on their cheeks. Ethan's standing by a mural, half listening to the principal drone on about budget needs, when something catches his eye. A boy, maybe 9, is sitting alone at a table, sketching with a pencil. He's got dark curls that fall into his face, a focused frown, and stunned, skulled blue eyes that hit him like a punch to the gut. Those eyes. They're his eyes. Sharp, deep, the kind of blue you don't see every day. He steps closer, ignoring the principal mid-sentence. The kid doesn't look up, just keeps drawing. Buildings, tall and jagged, like a mini New York skyline. Ethan's heart's pounding now, louder than it should be. "Hey kid," he says, his voice rougher than he means it to be. "What's your name?" The boy glances up, curious but not shy. "Liam Torres," he says, simple as that, then goes back to his sketch. Ethan feels the floor tilt. Torres. Maya's last name. His knees nearly give out, but he catches himself on the edge of the table. "You okay, Mr. Carver?" the principal asks, frowning. Ethan waves her off, his mind racing. Liam Torres, 9 years old. Maya's kid. He does the math quick. 10 years since that night in Miami, 9 years since... No, it can't be. But those eyes, that face, it's like looking in a mirror from decades ago. He's gotta know. "Who's your mom, Liam?" he asks, trying to keep his voice steady. Liam shrugs, not looking up. "Maya. She's picking me up later." Ethan's breath catches. "It's her. It's really her." He excuses himself, steps outside, and leans against the brick wall, the cool air doing nothing to calm the storm in his chest. Maya's here, in Seattle, raising a boy who looks just like him. A boy who'd be about the right age if she'd been pregnant when she left. The thought hits him hard, like a brick through a window. Did she know back then? Was she carrying his kid that night she walked away? And if she was, why the hell didn't she tell him? Why'd she hide it all these years? Ethan's not a guy who sits still when he's got questions. He pulls out his phone, calls his assistant, Nate. "I need everything you can dig up on a Maya Torres in Seattle," he says, voice low, clipped. "Now. And a kid named Liam Torres, too." Nate doesn't ask why, he knows better, just says, "On it, boss," and hangs up. Ethan paces, the pieces clicking together too fast to process. He remembers that night in Miami, her not showing up where they'd planned to meet, the empty spot by his side when he turned around, the ring he never got to give her. Did she see something? Did he screw up somehow and not even know it? An hour later, Nate texts him an address, a little art studio on the edge of town, registered to Maya Torres. Ethan's in his rental car before he can second guess it, driving through Seattle's gray streets, his grip tight on the wheel. He doesn't know what he's going to say when he sees her. Part of him wants to yell, to demand answers. "Why'd you keep my son from me?" Another part just wants to see her face again, to know she's real, that she's been out there all this time. When he pulls up, the studio's small, cozy, paint can stacked by the door, a sign that says Torres Art in loopy handwriting. Through the window, he sees her, Maya, older now, her curls tied back, wearing a smock splattered with color. She's laughing at something, and it's like a knife twisting in his chest. Then Liam runs in, holding up that sketch, and she ruffles his hair. Ethan watches them, his son and the woman he loved, living a life he was never part of. 10 years gone, and now he's standing here, an outsider looking in. What's he gonna do about it? You'll find out soon enough. The Seattle drizzle's coming down soft but steady, streaking the windshield of Ethan's rental car as he sits parked outside Maya's little art studio. He's been staring at that Torres Art sign for 10 minutes now, his hands gripping the steering wheel like it's the only thing keeping him grounded. Inside, he can still see her through the window. Maya, moving around with that same grace he used to know by heart, her curls tied up in a messy bun, paint smudged on her cheek. She's older, sure, but damn if she doesn't still take his breath away. And then there's Liam, darting around her, showing off that sketch like it's a masterpiece. Ethan's son. His son. The word feels foreign, heavy, like it doesn't belong to him yet. He takes a deep breath, kills the engine, and steps out into the rain. His polished shoes hit the wet pavement, and he doesn't bother with an umbrella. Let it soak him, he doesn't care. This isn't about looking good, it's about answers. The bell above the door jingles as he pushes it open, and the smell of paint and coffee hits him like a memory he didn't ask for. Maya's back is to him, arranging brushes on a table while Liam sprawled on a beanbag in the corner, nose in a comic book. Ethan clears his throat, and she freezes mid-motion. She turns slow, like she's afraid of what she'll see, and when her eyes land on him, it's like the air gets sucked out of the room. Those brown eyes he used to drown in, they're wider now, guarded, flickering with something between shock and dread. "Ethan!" Her voice is soft, shaky, like she's testing if he's real. He doesn't smile, doesn't soften. "Hey, Maya," he says, low and rough, stepping closer. She takes a half step back, instinctive, like he's a threat. "What are you doing here?" she asks, crossing her arms tight over her chest. Her tone's sharp now, defensive. Ethan glances at Liam, who's peeked up from his comic, curious but not moving yet. "I think you know why," Ethan says, locking eyes with her. 10 years, Maya. 10 years and you've been here, raising him," he nods toward Liam, "without a word to me." Her face hardens, but he sees the flinch, the crack in her armor. "Don't," she snaps, voice low so Liam won't hear. "You don't get to walk in here and act like you know anything." "Know anything?" Ethan's laugh is bitter, cutting. "I know he's got my eyes. I know he's 9, and 10 years ago you walked out on me without a damn explanation. You tell me what I'm supposed to think, Maya." She flinches again, harder this time, and glances at Liam, who's watching now, eyebrows scrunched. "Liam, go in the back for a minute, okay?" she says, forcing a smile. He hesitates, but nods and shuffles off, comic in hand. The second he's gone, she rounds on Ethan, eyes blazing. "You don't get to do this," she hisses. "You don't get to show up after all this time and play the victim. I saw you, Ethan, that night at the hotel, Chloe, her hands all over you, you laughing like I didn't exist. You broke us." Her voice cracks on that last word, and it hits Ethan like a slap. He steps closer, jaw tight. "Chloe, that's what this is about?" "Maya, I didn't..." She cuts him off, shaking her head. "Don't lie to me. I was there. I saw it. I was pregnant, Ethan. Pregnant, and you were with her. I couldn't stay." He stares at her, the pieces slamming into place. Pregnant. She'd been carrying Liam that night, and she thought? "Maya, I didn't betray you," he says, voice dropping, urgent. "I don't know what you saw, but I swear I never touched her. I was going to propose to you that night, had the ring and everything. You were gone before I could even find you." She blinks, tears welling up, but she shakes her head again, stubborn. "No, I know what I saw. You don't get to rewrite it now." "Rewrite it?" Ethan's voice rises, frustration boiling over. "You hid my son from me for a decade. You didn't even give me a chance to explain. You think I'd throw away what we had for some random woman at a party?" He's pacing now, hands raking through his wet hair. "Look at him, Maya. Look at Liam. He's mine, isn't he? And you kept him from me. Why?" She wipes her eyes quick, like she's mad at herself for crying. "Because I had to protect him," she says, fierce. "From you, from the guy I thought you were. I wasn't gonna let my kid grow up with a father who'd break his heart like you broke mine." Ethan stops, her words sinking in like lead. He wants to yell, to tell her she's wrong, but there's a part of him that gets it, why she ran, why she stayed gone. Still, it burns. "You didn't trust me enough to ask," he says, quieter now, raw. "You just decided I was guilty and took him away. That's not protecting, Maya, that's punishing." She opens her mouth, then closes it. No comeback ready. The silence hangs heavy, thick with 10 years of hurt. "Liam's my son too," Ethan says finally, voice steady but hard. "I deserve to know him. You don't get to keep that from me anymore." Maya's eyes flash, but before she can answer, the back door creaks. Liam's standing there, comic, forgotten, watching them with those blue eyes that cut straight through Ethan's chest. "Mom?" he says, small and uncertain. Maya turns, forcing a smile again. "It's okay, buddy. Go back inside." But Ethan sees it the way Liam's looking at him, like he's trying to figure something out. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. It's been a week since that blowout in Maya's studio, and the air between her and Ethan's still crackling with tension. He's back in Seattle, holed up in a sleek hotel downtown, but he can't stay away. Every day he drives by the studio, watching from a distance, Liam kicking a soccer ball out front, Maya hauling canvases inside. He doesn't push, doesn't barge in again, but he's there, waiting for a crack in her walls. He's not the type to give up, not when it's his kid on the line. Maya knows it too. She catches glimpses of his car, feels his presence like a shadow she can't shake. She's torn, replaying his words. "I didn't betray you." Could she have gotten it all wrong? But then she sees Chloe's smirk in her mind and the doubt slams back. Tonight, though, everything changes. It's late, the Seattle sky dark and swollen with rain, the kind that comes down hard and doesn't let up. Maya's in the studio cleaning up after a class while Liam's sprawled on the floor with his sketchbook. He's been quieter since Ethan showed up, asking questions she dodges. "Who was that guy, Mom?" She brushes it off, but she can tell he's curious, maybe even hopeful. It scares her. She's wiping down a table when Liam sits up, pencil still in hand. "Mom?" he says, casual but pointed. "Is that Ethan guy coming back?" She freezes, caught off guard. "I don't know, bud," she says, forcing a smile. "Why?" He shrugs, but his eyes don't leave her. He looked at me funny, like he knows me or something. Before she can answer, he's on his feet, grabbing his jacket. "I'm gonna get my ball from the shed," he says, darting out before she can stop him. She sighs, shaking her head. Kids, but then the rain picks up, pounding the roof like it's angry. Minutes tick by, too many minutes. She steps outside, calling, "Liam?" No answer, just the hiss of rain and a bad feeling twisting her gut. She rounds the corner to the shed, and her heart stops. His sketchbook's there, soaked and abandoned, but he's gone. Panic claws up her throat. "Liam!" she yells, voice swallowed by the storm. She runs back inside, grabs her phone, hands shaking as she scrolls to Ethan's number. She swore she'd never call him, but right now she doesn't care about pride. It rings twice before he picks up, voice sharp. "Maya, what's wrong?" She's choking on the words. "Liam's gone. He went outside and now he's not here. I can't find him, Ethan." There's a beat of silence, then, "I'm coming. Stay put." The line goes dead, and she's left pacing, rain dripping off her hair, terror sinking in deeper every second. Ethan's there in 15 minutes, tires screeching as he pulls up. He's out of the car before it's fully stopped, rain soaking his shirt, eyes wild. "Where'd you last see him?" he demands. She points to the shed, voice trembling. "He was getting his ball. I don't know where he went. It's pouring. He wouldn't just..." Ethan cuts her off, scanning the street. "He's 9, Maya. Kids don't think." "Did he say anything?" She hesitates, then nods. "He asked about you, right before he left." Ethan's jaw tightens, something flashing in his eyes. Guilt, maybe? Or fear? They split up, shouting Liam's name into the storm. Ethan's running now, down the block, his shoes slapping wet pavement. He's thinking about those blue eyes, that sketchbook, the way Liam looked at him like he knew. What if the kid went looking for him? He rounds a corner near the hotel, and that's when he sees it. A crumpled shape on the sidewalk, a bike tipped over beside it. Liam. Ethan's heart slams against his ribs as he sprints over, dropping to his knees. The boy's still, rain streaking his pale face, a gash on his forehead trickling blood. "Liam!" Ethan's voice cracks, hands hovering, afraid to touch him. "Come on, kid, wake up." A shallow breath escapes Liam's lips, and Ethan nearly collapses with relief. He's alive, but he's cold, too cold. Ethan yanks off his jacket, wrapping it around him, then scoops him up, cradling him close. "I've got you," he mutters, voice raw. "You're okay. I've got you." Headlights cut through the rain. A truck driver stopped, fumbling with his phone, yelling about calling 911 at 911. Ethan doesn't wait. He's back in his car, Liam in his arms, speeding to the nearest hospital, blowing through red lights like they don't exist. The ER's a blur. Nurses rushing, Ethan barking orders, Liam's small body whisked away. Ethan's pacing the waiting room when Maya bursts in, soaked and frantic. "Where is he?" she cries, grabbing his arm. "He's with the doctors," Ethan says, steadying her even as his own hands shake. "He fell." "Bike accident. He's alive, Maya." She nods, tears mixing with rain on her face, but she doesn't let go of him. Hours later, they're in Liam's room. He's stable, hooked up to monitors, that gash bandaged. Ethan's sitting by the bed, holding Liam's hand when the kid stirs. His eyes flutter open, blurry, and land on Ethan. "You," Liam whispers, voice weak. "You found me." Ethan's throat closes up, tears he didn't know he had spilling over. "Yeah, buddy," he says, voice breaking. "I found you." Maya's watching, her walls crumbling, and for the first time she wonders if Ethan's been telling the truth all along. But there's no time to figure it out. Not yet. The hospital room's quiet save for the steady beep of Liam's heart monitor. It's past midnight, the Seattle rain still tapping against the window like it's trying to get in. Liam's asleep now, his small chest rising and falling under a thin blanket, that bandage on his forehead a stark reminder of how close they came to losing him. Ethan slumped in a chair beside the bed, one hand resting on Liam's, his eyes red-rimmed but fixed on his son. Maya is across the room, leaning against the wall, arms wrapped around herself like she's holding it all together. She hasn't said much since they got here, but her silence screams louder than words. Ethan breaks it first, voice low, rough from hours of worry. "He asked about me before he ran off, didn't he?" Maya nods, barely, her gaze stuck on Liam. "Yeah. He's smart, Ethan. He's been piecing it together. Ethan exhales, running a hand through his damp hair. He's 9, and he's already chasing answers I didn't get to give him. Because you wouldn't let me. There's no venom in it, just exhaustion, but it stings anyway. Maya flinches, her lips pressing tight. I thought I was doing the right thing, she says, so quiet he almost misses it. I thought you'd hurt him like you hurt me. Hurt you? Ethan's head snaps up, eyes narrowing. Maya, I told you. I didn't do anything with Chloe. I don't know what you saw that night, but it wasn't real. I need you to believe me. She shakes her head, tears welling up again. I saw you, Ethan. Her hand on you, you laughing. It's burned into me. I was pregnant, standing there like an idiot, and you were with her. Her voice cracks, and it's like a dam breaking, 10 years of pain spilling out. Ethan stands, crossing the room in 2 strides, stopping just short of her. I didn't betray you, he says, fierce but steady. I loved you, Maya. I was going to marry you that night. I had the ring in my pocket, waiting for you. Chloe was nothing. I don't even remember what she said, just that I was killing time until you showed up. Then you were gone. She blinks up at him, tears streaking her face, but there's a flicker of doubt now, a crack in her certainty. Then why'd she act like that, she whispers. Why'd it look so real? That question's been gnawing at Ethan too, ever since their fight at the studio. He's not a guy who lets loose ends dangle, not in business, not in life. Yesterday, while Liam was still missing, he'd called Nate again. Dig into that night in Miami, he'd said. Chloe Bennett, who she was, who she worked for, everything. Now, standing here, he pulls out his phone, opens the email Nate sent an hour ago and hands it to her. Read this, he says, voice tight. Then tell me I'm lying. Maya takes it, hands trembling, and starts scrolling. It's a file. Photos, emails, a whole damn dossier. Chloe Bennett, 34 back then, wasn't just some party guest. She worked for Pinnacle Properties, a rival firm that wanted Ethan out of the game before he got too big. There's a grainy shot from that night, Chloe leaning into him, staged just right for the cameras. An email from Pinnacle's CEO to Chloe, make it convincing. Carver's reputation tanks, we win. Testimony from a bartender who saw her slip something into Ethan's drink earlier. Nothing strong, just enough to loosen him up. It was a setup, start to finish. Maya's breath hitches as she reads, her fingers tightening on the phone. No, she murmurs, shaking her head like she can make it untrue. No, this can't. She trails off, tears spilling faster now. Ethan watches her, his own chest aching. It's real, Maya. They played me, played us. I didn't know you were there, didn't know you saw it. I looked for you after, but you were gone. She drops the phone onto the bed, covering her face with her hands, a sob breaking free. I thought you didn't want me anymore, she chokes out. I was so scared, Ethan, I couldn't stay and find out. He steps closer, voice softening. I wanted you more than anything. You and Liam, you're all I would have wanted if I'd known. She looks up at him, eyes raw, and for the first time she doesn't pull away. But then a small voice cuts through the haze. Mom? Liam's awake, blinking at them, groggy but alert. Maya rushes to his side, brushing his curls back. Hey buddy, I'm here, she says, voice shaky but warm. Liam's eyes shift to Ethan, studying him. You're the guy from the studio, he says, weak but curious. Why are you here? Ethan freezes, glancing at Maya. This is it? The moment he's been waiting for? But it's her call. She takes a shaky breath, then nods, just once. Ethan kneels by the bed, meeting Liam's gaze. I'm here because I care about you, Liam, he says, voice thick, and I'm your dad. Liam's eyes widen, flicking to Maya. Is that true? He asks, small and unsure. She nods again, tears falling. Yeah, it's true. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. Liam doesn't say anything for a long beat, just stares at Ethan like he's trying to see it for himself. Then, quiet as a whisper, he says, You found me in the rain? Ethan swallows hard, nodding. Yeah, I did, and I'm not going anywhere now. Maya's crying silently, her hand on Liam's, and Ethan reaches out, covering hers with his. It's not forgiveness, not yet, but it's a start. The truth's out and it's torn them open, but maybe, just maybe, it can stitch them back together. What happens next? You're not going to want to miss it. The hospital room feels different now, like the air's lighter somehow, even with the faint hum of machines and the drizzle still pattering outside. It's been 3 days since Liam woke up, since the truth spilled out and left Ethan and Maya raw, exposed. But maybe a little less broken. Liam's sitting up in bed now, a tray of Jell-O in front of him, those blue eyes brighter than they've been. He's still got that bandage on his forehead, but the color's back in his cheeks, and he's asking questions, endless questions, mostly about Ethan. "So you build skyscrapers? Like really tall ones?" he says, spoon halfway to his mouth. Ethan chuckles, leaning forward in his chair. "Yeah, kid, really tall ones. I'll show you sometime." Maya's watching from the corner, a half smile tugging at her lips despite herself. She's been quiet these past few days, processing everything. The file, Ethan's words, the years she spent running from a lie. She's still mad, mostly at herself, for not asking, for not trusting. But seeing Liam light up around Ethan, it's doing something to her, chipping away at the wall she's held up for a decade. Ethan catches her eye, and for once, she doesn't look away. There's no fight left in her, not tonight. A week later, Liam's discharged, bouncing out of the hospital with a grin and a promise from the doctor to take it easy. Maya's ready to go back to their little routine, her studio, his school, the life she built alone. But Ethan's still there, hovering on the edges, not pushing, but not leaving either. He starts small, dropping by with a pizza one night, then a stack of art books for Liam the next. "Thought he might like these," he says, casual, but Maya sees the effort. Liam does too. He started calling Ethan Dad without hesitation, like it's the most natural thing in the world. It catches Ethan off guard every time, makes his voice hitch, his eyes soften. One evening, Maya's locking up the studio when Ethan shows up, hands in his pockets, looking less like a tycoon and more like a guy who's nervous as hell. "Got a minute?" he asks. She nods, wary but curious, and he pulls out an envelope, creased, worn, like it's been carried around too long. "I wrote this 10 years ago," he says, voice low. "After you left, never sent it, figured you should have it now." Her heart stumbles as she takes it, fingers brushing his for a second. She doesn't open it right there. Can't, not with him watching, but later, alone in her apartment, she does. The letter's handwritten, Ethan's sharp scrawl filling the page. "Maya, I don't know why you're gone, but it's killing me. I waited for you that night, every night after. I don't know what I did, but if I could fix it, I'd give anything. You were my whole world, and now it's empty. I hope you're okay, wherever you are. I hope you're happy." She reads it twice, tears blurring the ink, and it hits her hard. How much he hurt too, how much she took from him without knowing. She cries herself out that night, but when the tears dry, there's something else. Relief, maybe even hope. Spring rolls into Seattle a month later, the city blooming with cherry blossoms and soft sunlight. Ethan's still around. He's moved some of his work here, renting a place downtown instead of jetting back to New York. He's got a project in mind, something he pitched to Maya over coffee one morning. A program to bring art and tech together for kids like Liam. "You've got the heart for it," he told her. "I've got the resources. We could make it work." She'd rolled her eyes, but there was a spark there, a pull she couldn't deny. They'd been working on it since, arguing over details, laughing more than she expected. "It's not like before, not yet, but it's something." One afternoon, they're at the studio, Liam sprawled on the floor with a tablet Ethan brought him, some fancy drawing app he's obsessed with. "Look, Dad," he calls, holding up a digital sketch of a skyscraper with wild, colorful swirls. Ethan crouches down, grinning. "That's better than half my architects, kid." Maya watches, her chest tight but warm. She's tried to do it all, be mom and dad, keep Liam safe. But seeing him with Ethan, she knows she can't anymore. He needs this, and maybe she does too. She steps closer, hesitant, then rests a hand on Ethan's shoulder. He stills, surprised, then looks up at her. "You're good with him," she says, soft but real. He smiles, small and genuine, trying to be. Liam glances between them, smirking like he's in on something, then goes back to his tablet. That night, after Liam's asleep, Ethan lingers at the door. "I'm not asking for everything back," he says, voice quiet, "just a chance to be here. For him. For you, if you'll let me." Maya doesn't answer right away, but she nods, and it's enough. 3 months later, they're outside the studio, sitting on a bench as the sun dips low, painting the sky gold. Liam's between them, legs swinging, chattering about a school project. Ethan's arms draped over the back, brushing Maya's shoulders, and she leans into it just a little. It's not perfect. There's still scars, still trust to rebuild. But it's theirs. Liam looks up, grinning. You know, if I didn't go looking for you that night, Dad, you and Mom would still be all grumpy at each other. Ethan laughs, ruffling his hair. Smart kid. Guess you saved us, huh? Maya smirks, nudging Ethan. He gets that from me. Ethan raises a brow, playful. Oh, we're taking credit now? She laughs. Really laughs, and it's the first time in years it doesn't hurt. Ethan squeezes her hand, gentle but firm, and she squeezes back. Liam pipes up. Don't let go this time, okay? Ethan bends down, kissing his forehead. Never, bud. Maya nods, her voice soft. Not again. The three of them sit there as the light fades, a family pieced back together. Not the one they planned 10 years ago, but one they've made, stronger for the cracks. Ethan looks at Maya, then Liam, and for the first time in a decade, he feels whole. Second chances don't come easy, he says, almost to himself. Sometimes you've got to fight for 'em. Maya meets his eyes, smiling, or run through the rain for him. Liam giggles, and it's the sound of a new beginning. So what do you think? Do you believe in second chances? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear them. Hit that like button if this hit you in the feels, and don't forget to subscribe. There's more where this came from.